I think the theater experience is unique and important because it's uniquely human in a way that actually transcends most of modern conventional entertainment. So we have only had movies for about 100 years. We've only had TV for about 60. We've only had phones for about 10, in the way that we're using them now to view like content. But we have had theater for thousands of years. And I'm not breaking the mold by saying that. I just think that it really speaks to something that is deeply human. I had the experience of putting my show on in February of 2020. I put my show on live at the very end of February. The world shut down on account of COVID within 2 weeks. And then in May of 2020, I did a completely digital performance. I performed in an empty theater into a camera to be broadcast to people's laptops and TVs around the country. I technically still did the same show. I said all the same words. I delivered everything more or less the exact same, but it could not have been a more different experience than having and feeling an audience there. I honestly think that if COVID did nothing but teach all of us how precious one another's company is. It is so precious to be in the presence of another human being, whether it be in person. I think now we have all learned to conduct ourselves, over Zoom. We're all fairly used to this at this point. And we're all much better at it than we were when the pandemic started. I cringe at how clumsily I handled like job interviews or, happy hour game nights over Zoom. But now I am so grateful for the opportunity to physically be with other people. And whether I'm watching a show, experiencing the tangible tension of like, this is live, this is happening right now. There's no editing, there's no cutting away. There's nothing is going to remove me from this experience. I am fully pulled in. And as a performer, that is such an enticing challenge to me of like the audience cannot click away and they cannot swipe. They cannot swipe to the next thing. It's just me. And I have to keep them engaged and interested. And that has maybe never been harder in history, but it's so satisfying as an audience member and as a performer when you're actually able to do it, I think. So that's a very roundabout way of answering that question. But I think live storytelling, it goes back to us being around campfires and in caves. It goes back to us communicating the deepest part of who we are. And I think there's something innately uncomfortable about it, but that discomfort is not bad. That discomfort is exciting. I first heard about the Hollywood Fringe Festival by way of the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Obviously, the grandparent of them all. I had heard about the Edinburgh Fringe Festival when a number of years ago, I actually got to go to Edinburgh for not the Fringe. I went for Hogmanay, which is their New Year's Eve celebration. And I just spent the night in Edinburgh meeting people, and people that I happened to talk to in pubs that night mentioned like, oh, you got to come back for the Fringe. And I had never heard of the Fringe. I had no idea what it was. This was probably 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. I just never heard of it. And they were like, you got to come back for the Fringe. The Fringe is wild. It's so great. If you're ever going to come back for that. And I started looking into it. And then I realized that there were these fringes all over the world. And I probably heard about Hollywood Fringe truly. I mean, it must have been at least 5 years ago, but I was going to do the Hollywood Fringe in 2020 and the world had other plans. So yeah, I've known about the Hollywood Fringe for a number of years. Having never been to any other fringes, what I have experienced at the Hollywood Fringe is not only an incredibly friendly and open amalgamation of performers, but just a massively diverse selection of what you can do on stage. I really love the notion that nothing is off limits. You can do whatever you want. And because it's open to anybody, if you rent a space and put on the production of it, you can get on stage and do anything you can imagine. And I love that over the course of the Fringe, I'm going to get to see solo shows and ensemble shows. I'm going to get to see shows that are absurdist, shows that are grounded in reality, drama, comedy, things that really defy logic and explanation. I watched a man inflate a Bosu ball on stage the other night. Like, that is something that I don't think you would see at anything but a Fringe festival. And that's why they're so special. And that's why they attract such huge crowds. And I think there's also the promise with a Fringe. There's this hope or this faith that, like, you'll get to see the spark of something that catches fire. And I think that really pulls a lot of people in. People should go to the Fringe Festival because you'll probably never have a better opportunity to see a more eclectic blend of live performance. And you should see live performance because what you see live will never be replicated in the exact same way again. And what you see live will stick with you. You may tell that story about that night at a live show or watching live theater. You may carry that story with you for the rest of your life, sharing it at cocktail and dinner parties. You have no idea what's going to happen. You have no idea how it might. Sorry, there's sirens outside. I don't know if you can hear that. You should see live theater at the Hollywood Fringe because you have no idea how one show might change your life. And you have no idea who you might see or what might happen after that. This is a front row seat to see some really, really special stuff. Events like the Hollywood Fringe are important because art is important. There is a quote that I'm not going to try to quote perfectly now because I can't remember who said it and I'll butcher it, but art gives us reasons to live. Art is the thing that creates meaning, and more specifically, story. Story is the mechanism by which we understand our lives. There's no clear answer for why we are here, for what we are supposed to do, but story gives us context for painful things, for heartbreak, for romance, for spiritual disillusionment. It gives us a container that we can use to navigate our lives, no matter how painful or bizarre it gets. And we need the community's support because, frankly, creating art in a country like America and in a world like ours is an expensive endeavor. And we need the support of art-loving people, theater-loving people, to help us facilitate the work that we're passionate about creating, to share some of the cost of creating the stories that we tell ourselves. Because ultimately, we all need these stories in order to get through the good times, the bad times. These stories are the things that fuel us, and we're all in it together. So we should all be supporting one way or another. How did I fund the play? I have largely funded the play through my own personal financing. I allocated a certain portion of my budget. I have a full-time job. I work as a professional writer. I work as a marketer and a copywriter. So this is a side hustle. This is a passion project, but it's something that I really deeply care about and deemed was worthy for me to invest my own time and money in. Really, if people want to be involved and if people want to help, the best thing they can do is come see the show at the Hollywood Fringe. on June 4th, June 16th, or June 24th. I would love to have them at I'd love to have you at any one of the shows. And if you feel so inclined, I do have a ticketing option on my site where if you like, you can pay slightly higher than the going ticket rate. If you feel blessed, I wanted to offer tickets at a lower cost for people who might be financially burdened or financially strapped. I don't want money to be a reason that nobody comes to the show. So I'm not looking to make money on the Hollywood Fringe. But if people feel so inclined and they would like to see the show, they can purchase one of those tickets at a slightly higher price point, and that will go towards helping others who maybe don't have that option. And it'll go towards helping me continue to do the show however that presents itself next. My hopes and dreams for this production are far and wide. Of course, I feel like I have all of the stereotypical hopes and dreams, but my very, very tangible hope and dream for this show is I would love to do a tour of Missionary Positions through a pretty good portion of the American Bible Belt. I would love to take this show to the Midwest, to the South, to the parts of the country where I have lived and where so many of my friends have lived or still live, where evangelical Christianity is still such a prominent spirituality, and honestly, probably always will be. And the show is not about dissolving that or destroying that. My hope is that I can bring the show to other people like me who were disillusioned and broken and hurting, and offer a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of inspiration and maybe a fun, entertaining night of theater that leaves them saying, I'm going to be okay. It's going to be okay. We're all going to be okay. My name's Dan Prevette, and I am performing Missionary Positions during the month of June at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. You can see my show at the Zephyr Theatre on June 4th, June 16th, and June 24th. Tickets are available on the Fringe website, and I'd love to see you there. Your soul is fine. Save your seat.